That was Wellspoken. Episode 2 of the Wellspoken podcast brought to you by the Well Community Church in Landis, North Carolina. We're all really excited to be back. I think I can speak for us to say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we want to thank everybody that tuned into the first one for sure, and we just pray that this continues to grow and can impact somebody in a positive manner for the Lord. I think we're all just we want to just get into kind of how our weeks have been, and since we've seen you last, I know we've had a couple things going on. I know I definitely have, but
go ahead, talk about them.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, I can definitely. The last time we did this, I was still in the waiting process of a job I've been pursuing, which was with Concord Fire Department, and I think it was actually the next day I texted y'all.
I think so.
Yeah. It was the next day after that first podcast. I got the call, and they said we want to go and officially offer you the job. And man, I was pumped up. You know, that's just something that I've been praying about for quite a while. But what I wanted to kind of bring up with that was about 6 months ago when I decided to do this. It was one of those things that it wasn't decided out of desire. It was decided out of desperation almost, if that makes sense. Not that I was totally just dirt poor and couldn't afford anything, but I wasn't a point in my life where I was struggling mentally as far as just stressful. Owning your own business is stressful. You know, like I said in the last podcast, if it's going good, it's stressful. So, I started with the process, and every piece of it, I went to go do my physical portion, and it's not like I was excited to go do it. And I was like, I'm going to go do this physical portion. Went and did that. Passed that. I was like, cool. Wasn't much excitement then. Went and took the test, the paper test, and I left there just feeling real down. I was like, there's no way I passed that. And anyway, I told Brittany at one point, I was like, I need you to pray about something. I need you to pray that God gives me a desire to do this. Really. And I was like, first of all, it's a career you don't probably want to go into without the desire to do it.
Yeah.
And I started praying really hard that the Lord would give me a desire to do this if it's what He'd have me do. And y'all, honestly, within that week, I just got on fire and got the most excited about it ever. It was the weirdest things. My Instagram just started getting filled up. I believe the Lord can work in many ways, and this is one thing that we're always looking at. I truly believe He can have an impact with that, And just randomly on my feed, I just started seeing a bunch of firefighter things, and it was just getting me amped up about it. And it just, I started just literally surrounding myself with that thought. And so now I'm a weekend. My body's beat up. It's felt like a month this week. It's been a long week, but I'm super blessed. I'm with a bunch of really, really good guys. There's 18 of us. We'll actually have 20 next week. We got 2 more coming in. There's multiple people there that have done long-term mission trips, led youth groups. So that excites me. I'm like, there's something special here. We're going to be able to have some great conversations. But yeah, man, I just want to thank the Lord for giving me that passion and leading me into this with a heart for it, so I could put everything I had into it, not just because I had to, because I wanted to. And I'm just super, super thankful they did that. I've already broken a government vehicle day 2, so that was funny.
Well, that's good.
Now you got to tell us how you did that.
Yeah, it made me look real strong, real quick.
Hold on, do they know about it? We don't
They know about it. There ain't no hiding that. You're under a microscope in this phase.
Can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, we every now and then you get in vans and go places. So this is the first time we did it. We were going to get our turnout gear, which is the big stuff, the big jacket and everything. So we were all pumped up, and I was like, I'm riding shotgun, cool. So I got in the front seat, and they were struggling to open the back slider door. It's a big Sprinter van. So anyway, they got it open, and they went to go shut it, and it wouldn't shut properly. I tried to help them out. Wouldn't work out. So we were like, it's shut enough. It's not coming open. Let's get there. So we got to the place to get our gear, and I had to get out and I had to open the door for them because they could not open the door from the inside. And I'm sitting there, I had everything I had pulling on this handle, trying to slide this door open, and it gave. And it put me in the dirt.
About to say you're flying back.
I did a backflip. Everybody's just sitting there watching me. This is day 2. I barely know these guys. My captain comes around the corner, going, "You good, man?" I was just sitting there holding the handle, like, I guess, man. But they literally brushed off. They didn't care one bit. They were like, "We'll get that fixed. It's not a big deal." But I was like, "You got to be kidding me." Day 2, broke the van. He was like, "That's a record, Golden." Nobody's broke something that quick. But anyway, it's been a really good time. I've got tested physically already, which makes me happy because I didn't want it to be easy. And I got a long, long 6 months ahead of me. Long 6 months ahead. And y'all pray for me because other than I'm not necessarily worried about the physical stuff. It's going to push me. I know I can get through that stuff. But the harder stuff is sitting in that classroom and absorbing information, passing tests, especially EMT. That's one of the really hard ones. So y'all just keep me in your prayers.
Absolutely.
Yep.
How's your week been, Leo?
It's been good. Not as eventful as Nick's, but just going to work, going home, and starting again the next day. So, like I said, mine's kind of boring.
Well, anything big in Kannapolis going down? Any new developments?
Not that I can talk about.
Oh, nice.
Top secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, since the last time we've been on here, the kids had spring break last week, and then so enjoyed that time off, or when the kids time off, enjoyed that a little bit. And I'm a big sports guy, so me and Jensen went to the ACC tournament because it was in Charlotte. Went and watched the Carolina game and the Duke game because when you get tickets to a game, it's 2 games. It's
Hold on,
a
the Carolina fan watched the Duke game?
Yeah, and
that
both of them
wasn't playing
and they
Carolina?
listen to this. They both had the same exact score. Like it was 80-79, both
It's rigged.
games. Duke won by 1, Carolina lost by 1. So it was a terrible outcome, but it was, I don't know, it was cool enjoying that with my son. But then like last Saturday, took him to Charlotte FC. He took some friends and family and all that stuff. It's a good time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, and he's had a couple soccer games this week. Remy started had her first soccer practice last night, which was interesting to say the least.
Well, so when she first started, she wasn't doing nothing.
Okay.
Now how are we doing
So
now?
you're right. The first season, she wouldn't even go out there. All right. Second season, she'd go out there, but she would just like run in the back of the pack. Like
Yeah.
they're kids, they're young kids, so it's just like a big herd running with the ball, and she would just be right outside the herd. Well, the last season was her third season. She would get in there and mix it up. She scored I don't know a good amount of goals. But she moved up a field this year, and yesterday she was right back to not wanting to go out there.
Oh,
She ended up, the first half of practice, she didn't want to go out there, but the last 30 minutes, she ended up going out there and having a good time. So we're hoping that next week, at her next practice, it will just continue and she'll be good. But, yeah.
That has got to be the most. I remember when Lincoln, which Remy and Lincoln's the same age, but when Remy wouldn't go out on the field, Lincoln would go on a field, but he'd sit in the corner picking grass. He wouldn't play. And I ain't gonna lie, that was stressful on me as a dad. I want my son to go out there and dominate. But instead, he's that kid over there playing with grass.
Right.
Actually made sandcastles the first time he ever played baseball. You gotta be kidding me.
Nobody prepares you for that as a dad.
Yeah. That's like, even yesterday, I was just getting aggravated. Like Macy kind of had to like tap me on my leg, but. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Have had a good week. Just being around the family. Like I said last week with the kids being out, been around them more because they're not in school. And I was out of work a couple of days, so yeah, it was great.
It is crazy. If you would have caught me 6 months ago with doing construction, which I still love to build stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm gonna continue to do that. But if you caught me after 4 days working 12-hour shifts, 4 days in a row, I would not be a happy camper. But I've had so much joy in my heart. I've been leaving the house at 5:30. I get home at 5:30 every day, and it's full blast every day. But the Lord just put something in my heart with that. I think it's also because I get to sit beside a dude from London. He's from London,
Wow.
and he has the accent and everything. I can sit there and our captain's like, Keep talking. Then guess who's sitting behind him? A dude from Russia.
Oh, wow.
Straight.
Oh, my
It's
gosh.
awesome, dude. Like to hear
Wow.
them both.
You just
talk.
need somebody from Australia. You
Well,
got the trifecta.
But
Yeah.
the dude from Russia is crazy story, and I won't get into it too much. But he was an anesthesiologist in Russia.
Wow.
Yeah, which
Now he's
does,
gonna be a firefighter.
well, so in Russia it's way different. He made $2,000 a month as an anesthesiologist. Healthcare is free over there.
Yeah.
Anybody can go to college for free. You just have to pass certain tests to go to that kind of school. But he was in school for 8 years and made $2,000 a
Wow.
month. So our captain said, "How do you rate America?" He said, "A 8." A 8. And he's like, "Okay, well, what do you rate Russia?" A 4. So
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
We win.
yeah,
Yes.
we won.
We do win.
But anyway, but yeah. Does anybody have anything else they want to add to kind of what they've been doing and such?
Well, you talk about spring break. I would say we got to spend a lot of time with the family. We went to the beach in our camper and just chilled for a week. It was good to get away and just get that mental break and preparing for what's ahead of us with the new baby on the way, number 3.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, but we'll be all right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you got it,
Lord's
brother.
blessing, we're gonna be
Absolutely.
fine.
You got it for sure.
But
As long as on the way there you didn't get a flat tire or break your toilet or something. It seems like your trend.
Yeah.
well,
There's someone running here.
what broke?
speaking of that,
Oh no.
man, I don't even want to talk about. I told Dallas not to say a word to anybody because it
Oh,
seems like
man.
every time we go with our camper,
Now the whole world gets to
something
hear it.
happens.
Literally something happened.
But since you brought it up, so it rained one day while we were there, and while it started raining, water started coming in our slide out. Our camper, I've had it for 7 years. It's never once leaked, ever. So start investigating. Apparently, it's leaked a long time. Like we keep it under a shelter and everything.
Right.
From what I found, I feel like it leaked from the factory, and then all the work I've done to keep it under shelter and everything else, because it's never shown any signs of leaking whatsoever. And it's not even damaged in places where it would be normal damage for a leak. What's damaged is, Nick, you'll know about this, is literally the beam above the slide out. That whole thing, what happened was we put the slide out, and it pulled the seal out, and that's what caused it to leak in. So I still don't know where it was leaking from, but it's bad. It's
Yeah.
bad. So
Yeah. Got to work on it yet?
no, I'm dealing with insurance and
Oh, okay.
hoping that they'll.
hope
Well,
they
I
do
know
for you,
y'all had a
brother.
different
Yeah, we
experience,
did.
but we've never lived
Right,
in
it
it,
was
so
different.
I hopefully they'll honor it. I mean, I pay all this money in insurance, which I mean, as much damage as I've had to report on this thing,
Yeah.
they may drop me, but
Yeah.
if they do, they do. But I mean, I pay for it. That's what it's there for. Hopefully they'll
Yeah.
honor that. But
They denied us, so I'm just gonna go and say this anyway because they already denied us. But we never even told them we lived in it. That's the crazy part.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, no, we didn't say none of that because we knew they were gonna just say no.
Yeah.
But anyway, I definitely hope it goes better for you. Mine was really bad. I mean, $8,000 plus.
see, my slide out itself is not rotten. It's literally just a beam above it.
Yeah, that
But
couldn't be
I gotta
terrible.
take the slide out to get to it, and
Yeah.
take it apart, take the outside apart, reseal the
stuff.
whole thing, and I've been looking at other I've wanted a different camper for years, and this is not helping that situation
Yeah.
at all. We actually went and looked. This is probably why that day that it leaked in, we actually went to look at a fifth wheel at another camper, and I passed on it because it had rot in it in the slides, and then I get back and. Well, heck, I should have just traded it in and been done with it.
Right.
But
Right.
anyway,
Man.
Somebody
now everybody knows.
before we even get into what our main topic is, does anybody want to open us up in a prayer?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'll go. Lord God, we thank you for everything you do for us, God. We ask you just to be with us this evening, Lord, as we discuss your word. God, we discuss this subject that is so important in our time and age, Lord, of what it is to be a man. God, we ask you just to give us clarity in everything we say. God, that you would anoint us with your sweet Holy Spirit, Lord, to speak what you would have us to say. And Lord, most of all, that somebody could get something out of this message, Lord, that we're not doing it to honor ourselves or even spread the word of our church or anything like that. We're doing it to lift your name on high, God, and I pray that we can do that here today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, let's I'm gonna just go back to our first scripture we read the last time we did this. It seems like a really good base for this conversation, and then we'll just start stemming off from there. All right. Okay, so we were 1 Corinthians 16:13. It says, "Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be men of courage, be strong." And then verse 14 says, "Do everything in love." So let's just take it from there. Once again, like Leo said, we're still on that topic of being a man, what that is. Last time we went on a very broad topic of that, and we covered a bunch of little micro parts of it. But now we're gonna hone in and let's just talk about what that first stage of becoming a man is, pre-kids or pre-wife, pre-kids, and what ultimately makes you a good father, what ultimately makes you a good husband. But we got to figure it out first before we even get to that stage.
Yeah, like you said, last time we kind of jumped around a lot, and I think we all agreed that we needed to dial in on each subject. Like we could do a whole podcast for just before we get to being a husband, we need to be a man before we get to a husband being a godly husband, and then before we get to being a godly father, we got to be a godly husband and a godly man. So,
Right. Yeah.
I guess I'll dig in, and you know, when you think about manhood in today's society, so I done some digging. I listened to some stuff, and I feel like I come up with something that it's a theory of mine. I haven't really heard from before, but manhood today versus 30 years ago is different. I mean, manhood is almost like a triggering word now. Where it's almost offensive to some people. Where before manhood was nothing like that. But so, like in the 20th century, I feel like the 20th century was more of the start of the macho man phase. You had big time actors. You had movies starting up and that type of programs coming up, and you had people like John Wayne that everybody looked to. Now that's a man. John Wayne's the man. That's before our time a little bit, but but we've all heard the name John Wayne, and all the movies that he did, and he was the man. But you also had I think of and if y'all think of somebody, spit it out. But like the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a macho man. He's a big old dude.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, yeah,
I mean,
he's
he
the man.
is the man. He still is the man.
He still is, yeah.
We need to get him
All
on
the
here one
jokes
time.
are like-
Hold on, we should have been prepared for a Chuck Norris joke with that. We had to we think of something.
When he does push-ups,
And then
he
what-
pushes the earth down.
Yeah. And then you got like Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone. But all these are like macho man figures, and in the 20th century, they come up with this definition of being a man is you got to be tough. You don't cry, you don't talk about your feelings or emotions, you don't say I love you to anybody. You're just a tough dude. And I believe it's that manhood in that day and age is defined by the 3 B's. And I'll just spit them out, and then y'all can talk more about each one if you want. But the 3 B's is the ball field, the bedroom, or the billfold. That's how you define a man in the 20th century was by the ball field, meaning how good were you at sports, and that can not just at sports, but were you an avid hunter, were you an avid fisherman, were you that manly man, that macho man type deal.
I like that.
The bedroom. How good were you in the bedroom? That was advertised big time through Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. And the billfold. If you ain't got money, you ain't nobody. You need all the flashy stuff, the fancy cars, the fancy jewelry, all that kind of stuff. And that was more so, I feel like, the 20th century. And then as we get into the 21st century, that bled over into the 21st a little bit. But I believe where we're at today is we come to a realization as boys, essentially, that we couldn't live up to the macho man mentality. So now the macho man's gone, and we've given over to manhood being more of a negative thing. It's not. It's offensive. It's just not the same. Now, technically, both are spiritually wrong. They're not
Yeah.
biblically accurate. I mean, y'all got anything you want to say about either one of those?
Go ahead.
Well, kind of speaking on just like the cultural expectations of kind of what you were just talking about, you know, with the ball field, the bed, and all that. Like it was, you know, back then it was like, how many women can you get in the bedroom? You know,
Yeah.
like that. Like the more you get in there, the more of a man you are.
Yeah, you had to start a Playboy and all that kind of stuff. That that evil stuff that isn't accurate, but it was depicted as, oh, you're a manly man if you got that.
Right. And even, I mean, growing up, like that's what I thought a man was, you know, like, you know, the Terminator, and you know, there's all those movies like that, you know, with
Mhm.
all the like killing, and you know, just
Yeah.
all that, like, you know, just being a man, like, and that sort, like that's what I thought.
A savage.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
A savage.
That's
So Rambo.
Right.
Rambo. Yeah. But no, I like that. That what was it, ball field,
Ball field,
bedroom,
the bedroom, or the billfold.
the billfold. Yeah, no, I love that. That's good stuff.
And I think there's still people though that are maybe older than us that still try to live by that because
Yeah.
that's when they grew up with and they just haven't
Yeah.
found what it really is. So I think it still is a lingering problem. It's almost more dangerous now because they have people looking at them to be role models too. But yeah, it definitely has made a shift. And like you said, now we just got a bunch of sissies
Yes.
walking around, and it's just being as blunt as it is, a bunch of sissies. And I swore to myself that my sons would not be sissies,
Yeah.
And that's, we've all heard this because we've read the book, or I've read most of the book from Joby Martin that we talked about, Stand Firm, Act Like Men. Technically, a dude wearing skinny jeans sitting over at a coffee house drinking a caramel frappe latte
Can be
can be a man.
Yeah.
He can. It's not likely.
Yeah.
But he can be a man, But it's also, he goes on to say in the book that he's a big hunter. He can take down a deer with a bow. He can catch all his meals with a pole. He can do this and do that, and it doesn't make him a man.
Makes him awesome.
Yeah.
But not a man. And we gotta definitely find that balance. And yeah, man, I think that's great. And I think unless somebody else wants to go to something else.
Well, I also want to say with the dresses thing, like men wearing dresses.
Okay.
Like, are you sinning when you wear a dress? No. Like, technically you are not sinning, but you are miscommunicating like what masculinity is, or the fact that you are a male by doing that.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, like
They are comfy. I mean, they are freeing. I would not wear one in
I don't
public.
want to ask. I mean, you just said
I prefer
maybe that's why you're so convicted about your sons not being sick.
I prefer to call them a tunic. Okay.
Well, in the defense, you did play Jesus a few times,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
it was a
yeah.
robe, not a dress, Nick. but yeah, I mean, and that's where I feel like it's so. I don't know. As I was thinking, some of the messages I listened to and some of the stuff I listened to online, they were heavy emphasizing on the macho man deal. But really, today, I don't think the macho man deal is the biggest problem. The biggest problem is people don't want to be a man. Period.
Yeah.
And I truly believe it's backfed off of, well, I can't live up to my father's expectation of a man, so I just give up.
Yeah.
And the thing is, God doesn't call us to be macho men. There's lots of different types of men in the Bible. If you look at you're trying to be like Samson.
Yeah.
When I think of the Bible, I think of Samson being a pretty macho man. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he
Macho.
I mean, he was the man.
Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't be defeated whatsoever. What did he kill? Like 10,000 Philistines?
Yeah.
Like a jaw of a donkey or something like that.
Yeah, with the jawbone of a donkey or something.
How'd you get that? Did you rip it out of the donkey?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, he killed a lion with his bare hands.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a man.
Yeah.
And then you look at people like, and this is probably not the best example, but look at people like a kid like David.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David was in the field playing a harp to his sheep.
Right.
Now, he still killed a bear, killed a lion, and killed
Yeah,
Goliath, and
killed,
killed
yeah.
many people.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, he still had that macho-ness about him, but you don't look at him same way you look at Samson. And I think that's in the world today. You had men being taught they had to be macho, but really they weren't that macho facade. You know, they couldn't live up to it, and then they felt like a failure. So then they just go the complete opposite way, and that's where it's so offensive to be a man now. Is, you know, you don't, you know, because they couldn't live up to it, and now it's depicted as hate or you know, whatever.
Toxic masculinity.
Yeah, toxic masculinity,
Yeah.
which it is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give you the right to go the complete opposite way with
Right.
it. What it
Right.
should do is go back to the Bible. What's the Bible say a man is?
Right.
Yeah, I think you can. There's a couple other people that come to my mind when I think about a man in the Bible, and this one may not be directly in our thoughts, but Job.
Oh man.
That dude was a man
Yeah.
because he had everything. I mean, everything taken from him, and he never once cursed God for it.
Yeah.
All he had was humility. That doesn't mean he didn't ask God why. That didn't mean he didn't have thoughts. It literally meant he had humility and obedience to the Lord and at all costs.
Yeah.
That's a man right there, for sure. And ultimately, he was blessed with multiple more things, more than he ever had. So, but yeah.
I mean, you talked about like we kind of talked about being like the macho and then like the total opposite end of that scale. Job, I think, is like perfectly right there in the middle of that. You know what I mean? Like he's not too macho, and and people portray softness as like being gentle and being kind and all that. But and I guess if you are way too gentle and way too kind, I guess that could be soft. But Job is just had that perfect mix of both of those.
Because he was a hard worker. Did he have livestock that was killed?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not easy raising livestock,
No.
especially back in them days.
Yeah.
You didn't have a tractor to take a bale of hay out to the field with. There was some manual labor into that. So he was manly in that manner right there. And you could also just see his softness, I don't want to say softness.
Yeah.
Tenderness.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, it is a great mix.
Tough but tender.
Yeah, tough but tender.
Yeah.
And saved, not soft. But
But as we talked about the toxic masculinity both ways. Whether you're on both ends of the spectrum, but really none of that really matters. What matters is, what does God say a man is? What does being a man of God consist of? And I have 4 things, and we'll talk about each one. I just come up with 4 things that I feel like are very important. And you could add a whole lot more, but I feel like these 4 are just real important. And the first one is commitment to God-honoring labor. We are called to work as men. The first thing God did with Adam was place him in the garden to keep it.
Yes.
Now I always misread that. I always thought he was just made in the garden and got up and started working it. Mm-hmm. No, he's made in the outside of the garden and then placed in the garden by God to keep it. Yeah. But and I would like to point out that it was enjoyable work. Okay. It wasn't work, because something God did after the fall. This is pre-fall, pre-sin. But something God did after the fall was curse the ground, and we would work of it by the sweat of our brow to be able to eat. And that's still true to this day. That's why I feel like if you have a job that you thoroughly love and enjoy, you're getting a little taste of what Adam had in the garden. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you never go one day without a bad day at work, then you are super blessed. I tell my wife all the time that the idea that there's a perfect job out there, you might as well throw that out the door. I don't.
Except for Concord Fire Department.
Oh my God, suck up. But but I'm not saying you can't enjoy your work. I do think God gives us, and I'm not saying you have to. Work is going to be miserable for the rest of your life. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. Right. Yeah. But there's going to be days where you don't want to do it, because that's the way it was designed after the curse. After we sinned and fell short, we brought that upon ourselves through Adam. So we got to have that commitment to God honoring labor, and I emphasize the God honoring part. If you're doing labor that doesn't bring God honor, then you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah. That's doing the opposite of the work for the kingdom. So And, you know, we could go into all types of stuff of what that is, but I'm not going to go there. That might be another podcast. But you know, and also I believe in the God honoring. That brings in tithing. You know, God says to give them 10%. Actually, God,
The first.
yeah,
Yeah,
the first 10%.
yeah.
But actually, God says He gave it all to you,
Yeah.
so you owe it all to Him.
Right.
But all I ask for is 10%.
Right.
And so often we line up our bill schedule off of, you know, well, I would give God what's left after I pay all this. No, He should be first.
Yeah.
He should be first. Got anything you want
You
to
know,
say?
real quick, just on tithing. That's probably one of the hardest things for a Christian to commit to, honestly, because that's dealing with your money. That's dealing with what you live off of. It's really easy to say, I trust the Lord, and I'm going to let God lead me through this life. But the moment you have to pull that billfold out, right? Especially as a man that you worked really hard for, and it was hard labor. You did break a sweat. You did cut your hands up. You did get a headache from working all day. You know, it's really hard to say, okay, I'm going to give this money to you, Lord, and I'm going to trust you, do something with it. So, but once you learn how to do it, and I have not always been perfect with it. I've always tried my best. But once you actually have faith with that tithing process, the Lord does bless you.
Yes.
He makes a way.
Yeah.
And when there is no way,
Yeah.
like, man, this $200, like,
You hear all the time them stories of a check coming in the mail.
Right.
I mean, it's happened to me.
Right.
There's checks coming in the mail for me that I'm like, thank you, Lord. I'm like, I to this day, I don't know where it come from. If it was supposed to go to somebody else, I gotcha. But you know, but no, it was addressed to me, and I have no, I wasn't expecting it, you know, and it could be simple things that, oh, I forgot I did that, or you overpaid on something, and you know, I believe that's God taking care of His children.
Yeah, or it's just as simple as something not going wrong, like something not breaking, where you don't have to fork out more money. You know, it's just like everything's just kind of going like it should. And kind of speaking to the tithing, we did learn about this or talked about this the other day at
Connect.
at Overflow.
Oh, Overflow.
Yeah,
Overflow.
in Deuteronomy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, every third year you're supposed
Yep.
to take 10% of your annual income and give it to the poor. Every
Oh, wow.
third
It's
year.
in there.
Yeah, it is in there in Deuteronomy.
I'm proud to say we do that as a church every month.
Yeah,
You know, away, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know.
I didn't realize that was a thing. I mean, obviously, you know, the 10%, you tithe 10%, but I did not know every 3 years you give 10% of your annual income to the poor.
So a quick story on people that may be struggling with, it's a little analogy, or just really a story that I heard. There was this couple at a church, and they went up to their pastor, and they were like asking about tithing, and they just kind of told him like, we just don't think we can do it right now. We have stuff to pay for, and we don't know if we're gonna make ends meet. And the pastor said, well, how about this? Write me a check, and go and give it to me, and you just let me know when it's okay to put that in for the tithing. They're like, oh, really? You would do that for us? Like, he's like, you trust me to do it? You're like, yeah. He said, okay. Rips the check in half. He's like, why are you going to trust a worldly man to hold on to your money and not God?
That's pretty good.
So, yeah.
Did they go back to church?
I was thinking I was going a completely different way.
Yeah,
with
me
that,
too.
But that was good.
Yeah, I thought it was great when I heard it. But you just got to learn how to trust, man. That's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do. We trust so many things that are worldly. We trust these drinks. Like, I mean, I really don't trust it. I know that's crap in there. But I trust it's going to taste good.
Don't bring mine up.
Yeah.
I'm cramping right now because of it, I think.
We trust things that say organic. We trust politicians sometimes, you know, but we have such a hard time trusting this book that's been proven over and over and over again, and a God that's been proven over and over and over again. It is so hard for us to trust him.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's where we could get off on another whole nother thing of idols, and we could probably talk about it a whole nother day. But
yeah, we are fading a little bit. Let's reel it back in.
Yeah,
boys.
let's reel it back in.
Anyway, off the tithing.
But back to commitment to God honoring labor. That goes back to also not being lazy. You know, we talked last time about I think that's one of the number one problems with even
100%.
godly men or men in general in this generation is we're lazy. You know, it's too easy to go home and sit on a recliner and not, you know. And I was pretty convicted by a message, you know, talking about the Sabbath, and you know, work 6 days, rest 7. how much of that 6 days am I really working the whole 6-day part? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I, my schedule at work is different than I could go home and work at home
Yeah.
and do stuff at home. And do I take advantage of all that time?
Right.
And well, obviously do I honor the Sabbath, but we could talk about that another time. But
Yeah.
don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. Paul tells us in 2 Thessalonians 3:10 that if we don't work, we don't eat. That's part of what God told us is, we're going to work by the sweat of our brow, and it's not always going to be enjoyable, but we're going to have to do it if we want to be fed. He's pretty clear on that in Proverbs chapter 6. I'm gonna read it real quick. If y'all got something to add about being lazy, we think about it.
I think we're lazy and workaholics at the same time. I've said that when I've stood up here and preached before. We're the most lazy workaholics there are. We're workaholics for the things of the world and lazy for God. And if we could just learn how to flip the script, not flip the script, because we have to be hard workers, like you said, but we have to learn how to take that same energy, if not more, and put it towards the Lord.
Yeah. So in Proverbs 6, I'm gonna start in verse 6. It says, "Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, no overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard, when thou wilt arise out of thy sleep?" It's saying, the ant doesn't have to have somebody tell it to go work. It knows it needs to do it. We should have that infused in us as Christians that, hey, we need to go to work or we're not going to eat. We need to go work so that we can provide. We need to go work so we can provide for ourselves and replenish ourselves. And I want to get on this little subject, and I hope y'all have something you can add to it. But one of my pet peeves, I have a crew that works for me. I have like 17 guys that work for me. And what type of worker are we whenever we go to work? As a Christian, we should be the best possible, outcome for our boss man.
Mm-hmm.
We should show up on time. We should be there on time. We should work hard, not have to be told what to do all the time, or wait to be told what to do before we do something. We should be an example, really, in the workplace for other people that, and if we're not, we're missing the mark, I believe. What y'all got?
No,
Go ahead.
I mean, you're 100% right. Like, they should love working with us.
Yeah.
Like, on top of, the being punctual and being hardworking and all that, like, we should also be motivating, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
someone that they can, like, lean on when they need to, someone that can help and
so they can encourage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yes, encourage them and all that. Like, we should be an absolute pleasure to work with.
Yeah.
In many ways. Yeah.
So I think you're always going to have the people at the office, job site, wherever you're at, that are haters on how hard you work and how good you are at your job. So you may not impact them, but maybe you eventually will. But I want you to think about it like this. Say you have the best NFL quarterback in the world or in this country, and there's 10 kids that aspire to be a quarterback. What are they going to go and ask that quarterback? Say, how are you so good?
Wow. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's your opening right there to say, I let the Lord lead me, and I want to work hard.
That's good.
So you be that good because you do want to draw attention, not necessarily to yourself, but what makes you that good, and that's the Lord.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big reason He wants us to be hard workers. And honestly,
I think it's also a way that He can bless us.
Mm-hmm.
He can bless us with promotions through our work and through our careers and all that kind of stuff. But if we're crappy workers, one, we're not bringing Him honor in what we do. The Bible says to do everything that we do to bring Him as if we're doing it for the Lord.
Yeah.
That's everything. That includes work. Even if we may not like it, we should be the best employee we could possibly be to bring Him honor and glory. Number one, but also, I mean, I'm not saying it's a self blessing on yourself, but I mean, if you're a crappy worker, you're not going to get promoted.
Right.
You're not going to be given more responsibility when you can't handle the responsibility you got. So, and I'm getting off on a whole nother subject.
Real quick, you talked about not being told constantly, what to do.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, someone who takes the initiative, and so the initiative is the opposite of passivity. In Genesis 3, Adam failed to take the initiative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and passivity is not manly. Like a man should step up and take the initiative to be, you know, at work, should be take the initiative to be the leader in a home, to be in church, you know, to have a relationship with Christ.
That's good.
So yeah, it's just a you know, initiative is just a characteristic of being a godly man.
Yeah, you like I said this in the last one. A man does what a man has to do, and that's not just the shiny looking stuff or the cool looking stuff. That's the down and dirty stuff. That's the boring stuff. That's the maintenance stuff. That, like you said, at home. That's whatever needs to be done, and you do it. A good leader, we all know this. A good leader leads by example.
Yeah.
Doesn't lead by demanding how to
Right.
do things. And you start doing stuff with a good attitude, and you seem happy doing it. Others are going to start doing it too.
Mhm.
It's just how it works.
I
It's
think
contagious.
And I think that's going to lead us into my next point of being a godly man is commitment to godly character. You know, as we were talking about work, we were talking about, you know, not in the biggest thing is be that example when people are looking, but definitely be the example when people aren't looking. You know, are you gonna have that character that they can rely on, that people can rely on, that God can rely on to trust you with what He's entrusted you to do? When you don't think eyes are looking at you, you know, of course, at all times God's watching. God's there. He sees all, knows all. But you know, but are we in those times at work that we may have? Are we is our character shining through? You know, I feel like that's another area that men today fail is our character is tarnished. You know, used to in old movies and stuff, you hear all a man's got is his word. That's kind of went out the door in today's society. Me and my wife have been on a Survivor fling where we've been watching Survivor. I keep telling her because the thing keeps popping up that if you want to be on Survivor, apply. I said, Dallas, I'm gonna apply for Survivor. I'm gonna go on it. And she's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I ain't on it. but Brittany might kill me. But Nick, I think you should do Survivor. I'm just kidding. No, but you'll be voted out as soon as they merge because you're challenge threat.
Oh, really?
That's what I always cheer for. And I know we're off subject, but I always cheer for the macho man, I guess,
Right.
because they take advantage of them whenever they're separated, and then whenever they get all together, they vote them out because they can't beat them. I'm like, that's just messed up. But when you look at back to my original thing, when you look at Survivor, you can't trust what anybody says on that show, you know. And if you do, you're an idiot, essentially. And you know, we say, "Oh, it's just on that show." No, that's an everyday. So whenever we say as Christians that we're going to do something, we should do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely do it.
Yeah.
You know, if why would anybody trust somebody if you can't even fulfill what they said? And I think this is going to step on some toes probably, but the number one area I think we as Christians feel about that is, oh, I'll pray for you.
Yes. Yes.
Do we really?
Yeah.
90.
That goes back to character.
No.
Yeah.
You know, we're not really held accountable for that. We probably will one day.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know, we're not really held accountable that, well, they're not going to know whether I really prayed for them, you know, and that shouldn't be the case.
Right.
I wonder how different the world may be today if every time that somebody said, well, I'm going to pray for you for that, they actually did it.
Right.
And
That's probably the biggest lie Christians tell today.
Yeah.
And here, I mean, speaking of that, that's something lately, because there's a friend of ours that is needing prayer.
Yeah.
And you know, like I was thinking about it a couple weeks ago when he was asking for it. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'll pray for you. And then like I was just thinking, like, how many people have I told that? Like, I'll pray for you, and then I don't. You know, so like, and for him, and there's another person I've been praying for lately. I've been trying to make it like be intentional about praying for them. You know, it's when I just think about them. You know, I'll just stop and just say a quick prayer for them. You know? So, but I mean, not trying to toot my own horn, but like that is like something I used to lie about all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like tell people you're praying
Oh,
for
absolutely.
I'll give you a fist bump. No, man. I do want to give somebody a shout out in this church, and I hope we can get him on here one time. But Ashley Goodman,
That's a good one.
I've never asked him. Well, I mean, I can't say I haven't said pray for me. I'm sure I have at some point. That may have been a year ago.
Yeah.
about once a month, if not more regular than that, I get a text from them. Hey man, I'm lifting you up in prayer this morning, you and your family. Hope you have a blessed day. I know God's gonna do great things for you. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
And I immediately text him back like, same to you, brother. Sad that I didn't have that thought already though. And that's just one example. But through my whole process of, and once I started my journey to get into the fire department, I was asking for prayer a lot from people, Pastor George, Ashley, y'all, and stuff. And I made it a point to, just to reach out to everybody I asked for. And I just said, regardless if they did or not, thank you for praying for me, because somebody did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, prayer's powerful. I don't think people realize that how much of an impact can be made with speaking to the Lord and asking for things.
Yeah, and like I said, commitment to godly character. We gotta have a backbone.
Yes.
You know, if we don't, we got, and having a backbone, I feel like means we gotta stand for something. You know, we're not called to come into this world and be silent. You know, and not say anything. No, he says to go into all the world and make disciples. That is by spreading the truth of the gospel. You know, I love what a preacher I listened to said. He said, God doesn't call us to be nice. He calls us to tell the truth.
Yes.
You know, so often I feel like Christians are so worried about being nice. And, we want to be, I'm not saying, we want to be loving. Yeah, that's right. We want to be loving, but we can't sacrifice the truth for being loving, you know. And do we really stand in the trenches? I think of people in third world countries that, they could easily be killed any day just for having a Bible or just for praying. You know, we are spoiled in America.
Yeah.
You know, to the point where we don't even realize how good we have it.
Right.
And do we have the backbone that if it come down and we were persecuted for our faith, would we stand true in it? And I want to say, yeah, I will. But is my character strong enough through being intentional in my reading of the Bible and in my praying and my personal, in my prayer closet, the time away from in secret, am I faithful in that? That's how you build character, is being faithful in secret.
Yeah.
The Bible says He won't honor you in front of people unless whenever you don't honor Him in secret.
Right.
So it goes back to that character. We got to have a backbone, and we got to build that by prayer and reading His Word and growing in Him. If we're not growing, then we're sliding back.
Yeah. So the word that I think about when you say that is courage.
Yes.
Be courageous, and that's what Paul's telling us to be in 1 Corinthians 16, verse 13 and 14. He's telling us to stand firm and be brave and act like a man. Just be courageous.
Yeah.
And like if a man is a coward, like the opposite of that would be being a coward. Like that is obviously not manly. And I just think of the example, of, and this is like you're laying in the bed with your wife at night, and you hear something in the house, and she's like, "What is that?"
I don't know. Go check.
Yeah. Like you can't be like, "I don't know. I'm scared too. I'm not going to check either." Like no. Like,
I will say I do have a valid excuse. I have to take my contacts out at night, and I cannot see anything. So I'm just kidding.
And
that's my brother's excuse.
You're really zero dark 30.
Yeah. Well, I can't. I just lied. I have a pair of glasses on my nightstand, so I could easily throw them in. But that is my brother's excuse. That he can't see nothing, so he has to make his wife go check. But.
And then speaking of the love,
hope he don't see this. I didn't say his name. I have 3 brothers, so they can't tell which one.
There you go. Like talking about telling people the truth, but being loving. I just think if you love someone, you'll tell them the truth.
Yeah.
If you love yourself, you'll tell them what they want to hear. And like there's obviously a fine line between that, and people may not like the truth, and they may think that. And when you tell them the truth, that you're being hateful or mean or anything like that. But honestly, that's a big problem that a lot of people, especially Christians, face today. Is they will tell someone what is wrong, like trying to help them, and it will just come back as, well, like they'll even say, like, I thought you were a Christian, like why are you being so hateful? Why are you being so mean? And it's just like, I'm just trying to help you, trying to tell you the truth. And I just think that's a hurdle we have to face, because you do have to figure out how to say it so it doesn't sound so rude and blunt and all that. But yeah,
that makes me think. We were talking about Job's friends. Whenever they come to visit him, they were pointing him out for something that wasn't accurate.
Right.
I mean, do we do that, or do we actually just lift that person up in prayer? Now, of course, if they're struggling with homosexuality, or being a drunkard, or whatever it is, we have to tell them it's wrong.
Right.
But we got to do it in a loving way.
Right.
So, are you done with your thought
Go
on
ahead.
that? I just want to bring up a visual for everybody to think about the next time that you want to tell somebody they're not doing something right. I mean, there's plenty of people that do it so wrong, and that gives us all.
We do it
bad
wrong.
We do it wrong.
Yes.
But have this visual. Have y'all ever been in a crowd to where you really can't see 20 foot ahead? You just see people.
Yeah.
Like you see their backs. Like
Right.
you don't necessarily know where you're walking into. And there's a visual, just say 1,000 people, and the people in the back are really just following the crowd because that's where everybody's going. But really, what they don't see is the cliff that drops off.
Yeah.
They can't see that until you get to the point where you step over the cliff, and you're the one saying, "Hey, there's a cliff up there. Don't go that way." And to them, they're like, "What are you talking about? Everybody's doing this."
Yeah.
But you're being loving enough to say, "No, you're gonna die and drop into this pit if you keep going this direction." And I think that's the visual we have to have, because people are helpless. They don't know where they're going. They don't know that they're doing wrong. But it's figuring out how to do it the right way. That's the struggle. I watch a bunch of people, and I see a lot of people that I don't necessarily agree with their street ministry, where they stand on a corner with a mic, and they're
scream.
they want people. They want it. Some do it. I know some that do it a very good way.
Yes.
Very polite way. They're not just sitting there just preaching random stuff and let people hear it. They actually engage. They want people to come talk and have conversations. And they hear them out, and it's just great. But I've seen a lot of people do it wrong.
Well, I also feel like that goes back to, you gotta get them to Jesus first.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't fix ourselves and then get saved. We got saved and then Jesus cleansed us and fixed us. And that's gotta be the number one priority of doing that. Is like you said, hey, you're gonna die if you go that way. You need to come this way. And once you get them turned around going that way, then you can minister to them and help them and their daily struggles and that kind of stuff. And it's not that we all fall to sin. We all fall short of the glory of God. Our righteousness is as filthy rags, the Bible says. So it's not that we're doing something wonderful and great. We all struggle with sin, but we know it's wrong. And that's if you don't know it's wrong, it's hard to repent from it.
Right. So did you get through all 4 of your points?
No, I still.
Oh, okay, go for it. I was gonna have you repeat them anyway.
So we've talked about commitment to a God honoring labor, commitment to godly character, and my next one was commitment to God's law. Commitment to God's law. When God made Adam and set him in the garden, a lot of people say, "Well, there was no law then." No, there was one law, and he broke it, and he fell short. And somebody brought it up today, or at a message I was listening to, said that 95% of Americans don't even know the basic 10 Commandments. 95%. And that convicted me. I was like, because instantly I started thinking, trying to name them off. Do I know them all? You know what I mean? And there's 300 something laws in the Old Testament. There's 10 that's still absolutely active today. Jesus refers back to the 10 Commandments. But do we actually know the 10 Commandments? We've already talked about we definitely abuse one of them.
Yes.
That is a commandment, and that's the Sabbath for sure. I believe most Christians abuse the Sabbath because they look at it as an optional thing. No, it is a commandment from God. Israelites in the Old Testament died because they picked up sticks on the Sabbath. So it is a legit thing.
to that point, before you leave the Sabbath, I do want to speak on that because I don't want people to think that it's that
I
one
think we're
particular
gonna have to
day.
do a thing
Yeah.
on the Sabbath.
Because the Sabbath is not one particular day. It's
Right.
not Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not Saturday. It's whatever day
One
you
day.
set aside to say, I'm going to rest in the Lord today.
Yeah.
And I think people get so hung up on, oh, you're working on Sunday, your truck's going to break down. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's not,
Yeah.
because first
Well,
of all, I
you drive
work
a
for the
Dodge,
Lord
but-
and I'm doing this, to glorify Him. And so many people get hung up on that. And honestly, I always thought Sunday was the Sabbath, but really it is Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that
That's
really
Well,
the Sabbath?
in Jewish customs, yeah, it's
Right.
Saturday. It's Friday night through Saturday night. I
Yep.
believe is the.
And something like they can only travel so far unless it's on water. So now they'll put like a water bottle
Yeah.
underneath their
Yeah.
seat.
Yeah.
In the car.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do something on the Sabbath for
Yeah.
sure. That'd be good.
Yeah, I think that'll be a real interesting
Yeah.
one to do. But
Yeah.
commitment to God's law. If we can't take seriously the law of God and what to do, and I'm not just gonna put it back at the Ten Commandments. This is His law.
Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
His truth. This is the word that we are to live by, and learn about. And are we committed to it? Are we committed to learning it? Are we and not just reading the Bible through in a year? Should we do that? Yeah, absolutely. But if you don't retain most of what you read, which you probably won't. I mean, like for me, I'm doing one on my app, and I'm convicting myself, but of reading through the New Testament in a year just to read through it.
Yeah.
Well, I go first thing in the morning. I get up and I go read through the New Testament. I couldn't tell you what I read this morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that really doing any
Right,
good?
right.
You
Yeah.
know, or are you
Good
really?
intentions.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying
know
to start my day off
yes.
right, and actually, I do remember what we talked about, but what it was about this morning because it relayed into a message I heard. But anyway, uh, you know, but commitment to it, I
Yeah.
think, is the biggest thing.
Yes.
Not just reading it, but commitment to it and applying it to our lives. We got to understand it to apply it. So, commitment to God honoring labor, commitment to character, commitment to God's law, and I got one more if y'all are ready for it.
Go ahead.
send it.
Commitment to family. And I know we talked about we're going to do a whole thing. Our next podcast will be on being a godly husband, and then our next one will be on being a godly father. But what I'm talking about here, one of the commandments, the fifth commandment, honor thy father and mother.
Yep.
If you can't honor your father and mother, which was a commandment from God, then you're not going to be a good man. You know what I mean? If you can't honor your father and mother as a boy, then what makes you think you're going to honor your wife when you get one day? What makes you think you're going to honor, do everything else? That's a big one to me is commitment to your family, honoring your father and mother, and go ahead, somebody.
Yeah, I mean that goes along. Father and mother for sure. Also brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Like that's where you learn to be a protector.
Mm.
Think about it. You're on the playground with the younger brother. Somebody starts picking on him. What you gonna do? You're gonna whoop that dude's butt for picking on your little brother, right? If you don't, you're a sissy. I'm just kidding.
That's
No.
going back to that toxic.
Right,
I'm
no,
just kidding.
I'm joking. But no, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did get on Axton one day because we were at the beach about a year ago. Him and Cash were on the basketball court with this other kid they just met. They always just meet friends at the beach, play basketball.
Yeah.
Well, here comes Cash stomping over. I'm about to knock that kid out. I was like, what happened, man? He's like, call me fat. I was like, burn me up. So I walk over there. I'm like, first of all, I said, did your brother do anything? He's like, not really. It burned me up, man.
Yeah.
So I went over there and just leaned up against the cage, and this is not my proudest moment. I'm just sitting there watching, and that kid felt me burning a hole through the back of his head. I was just staring at him, and he is not the most in shape kid. Okay. Anyway, and then he finally turned around. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm sorry for saying that to your son." And he was picking on my little brother or something. I was like, "Oh, what did he do?" He's all he wasn't passing the ball. I was like, "Oh, so that gave you right to call him fat?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Have you looked in the mirror?"
Nick, how old was
It was
this
wrong.
kid?
He was like 10.
I'm just not. Don't say it. Don't say it.
It was wrong.
Oh, my
But
goodness.
hey, that's what will bring out. That is that part that comes out in all.
Hey,
of
we
us, I
all
feel
fall
like.
short of the
Right,
glory of God.
we fall short. But my point was of this whole thing is you should be your brother's keeper. You should be a protector of what you have. Then you don't
Yeah.
have a wife yet. You don't have kids yet. So the Lord has these things in our life to prepare us. Like you said, honoring your father and your mother. And man, that was hard for me. The older I got, I don't know about y'all. The older I got, the smarter my mouth got with my mom.
Yeah.
And the more I want to disobey and not listen, I know what I'm doing. No,
Yeah.
you don't. You're a little kid. You're a little boy.
Yeah.
Listen to your mom. Listen to your dad. And anyway, I mean, there's obviously circumstances where that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
kind of along those lines, in 1 Timothy 5, I believe, Paul, in the verse, Paul's he's telling Timothy to treat all older women as your moms and all younger women as sisters, so, and like with purity.
Yeah.
So that just kind of goes along with that. Like if you're going to, obey your mother and father, like if you're, and Paul's telling us to treat them all, like treat the older women as your moms and the younger girls or women as sisters, with purity. Obviously, you have to treat them well. That means treat them well. Like with respect. And like the older women, you honor and care for them just like you would your mom, and then your sister, you treat them with respect and protective care. Because hopefully you're not going to treat your mom or your sister with disrespect. But anyways, it's just unmanly to be impure. So it's in 1 Timothy 5. He calls us to be pure and tells us to treat all older women like our moms and younger women like our sisters.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to, with the honor of the father and mother, children are the most selfish people in the world. They're brought into the world and they have to fully rely on their mom and dad for everything. And my daughter, y'all seen her. Y'all probably both heard her scream and everything. She's stressful. I love her. I love you, Denver. If you look at this one day, 20 years from now. But all children are selfish.
Yeah.
And part of being a man is growing out of that selfishness and becoming selfless.
Yes.
If you're still selfish and childlike, essentially, then you're not going to be a great man because you're selfish. And it's going to be all about you. You got to get your way or the highway, and that's not what God tells us to be. God tells us to be intentional, be providers, be priests to our home, and we have to do that in a selfless manner. We're to love our wives like Christ loved the church. I don't think anybody's more selfless than Jesus, laying down his life to die on a cross. That's what God calls us to do as the man of the house, as a man, is to be that example of Jesus to our family, number one, and then to everybody else. And part of honoring thy father and mother, and that transition from a boy to a man, I think the number one thing is getting rid of the selfishness and turning it into selflessness. And my daughter, she'll if she don't get her way, she'll scream to the top of her lungs. My dad started calling her Stomper. She'll stomp her foot down and she's 3 years old and she gives me a look worse than my wife does. And she's got it down pat.
Yeah.
I think Cody Johnson sings a song, "Lord bless the
boy
that
God bless the boy.
Yeah. I feel bad for that boy one day, but she, my wife's going to teach her to be a God-fearing woman, and so I feel bad for that boy for having to deal with me mostly, but part of that commitment to family is honoring thy father and mother, growing out of selfishness into selflessness, and once you make that transition to not being selfish anymore, you've made that transition into manhood.
Yeah, that can go even as far as like when you talk about love. Like people have this idea of what love is, and like people have a selfish love as far as like I love you because of what you do for me or how you make me feel. When it should be like a sacrificial love, like I'm going to love you, like I will, like I want, like I'm not worried about me, what I mean? I want you to be, like to have all these things or feel this way, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that is that goes from going from a boy to a man, is figuring out exactly what love is. Like love isn't all this like lovey-dovey love, like how you make me feel. Like it's a covenant love.
Yeah, love is not an emotion; it's a truth.
Right,
and it's a choice.
Put it. Yeah.
Yeah, the word love is the most misused word in the English language.
Yeah.
We go from "I love you, Lord, so much" to "Man, I love this Krispy Kreme donut." You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
We just
You
use it
hitting
too
home there.
broadly.
My goodness.
What's that? Man, I love this song. Man, I love that movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We
Hey,
throw it out so freely.
We do.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of leads me into kind of what I wanted to speak on. We are, man,
Alright, go ahead.
we're kind of running short on some time, and I know
We got time.
we can bleed into this later. I just want to kind of briefly get into it. But all these things we've been talking about. Do you have any more? I don't want to cut.
I'm
you
done.
off.
I do
Okay.
want to. So I do want to
ahead.
just go over.
Yeah,
you know,
recap.
godly spiritual men is commitment to God honoring labor, commitment to God's law, commitment to family, and commitment to godly character.
Yeah.
Those are the four that I come up with.
That's good,
that I
Leo.
think is,
And I think that's perfect because I think what I'm going to talk about is a great tool for all this, and that's the first 4 words of that verse we read: "Be on guard, be on your guard, be watchful." Right. So with all those things, this world, and I'm gonna bounce to another verse that we've all heard, and 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober minded, be watchful. Your adversary and devil prowls around like a roaring lion.
Yeah.
We've all heard that. And we're told in the Bible a lot to be watchful. That's stemming back to like in the Bible times, like they're standing on a tower, they're standing guard for their whole town. Like there's, you know what I mean? And as a young man, and there's so many things that devil does that I've been affected by. Maybe y'all have dealt with it, and we're gonna get a little, a little personal here. And I'm not really afraid to talk about it because I think it could help somebody. But at a young age, man, I got wrapped into some pornography. I just did.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, at 13 years old,
Mhm.
that's crazy, right? What can the devil do with a 13-year-old's mind that's undeveloped? And this is an issue for a lot of men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
But especially now, dude.
So
Like
accessible.
it's so bad.
Yeah,
And
that's made it-
thankfully,
this
the
amplified it
Lord is
bad.
moving in it. The Lord is shutting things down.
Yeah.
He's putting a lot of like Tim Tebow. There's another guy that I watched on. I don't know if y'all watched that Built for More podcast with Joby Martin and that other guy I told you about.
Yeah.
There's a dude in there talked about how he was actually in the industry himself for 8 years, sucked into that, and now he's on a mission to get a lot of legislation passed to shut all this stuff down. So it is getting better. It's still out there. It's always going to be out there. But that right there, where it says right there, be sober minded, will get you drunker than a bottle of wine. It'll get you drunker than that bottle of beer. And I think y'all have seen that little video I made a couple weeks back talking about, being sober minded and how a lot of people associate that with just drinking.
Yeah.
That's the least of our. I mean, it's a concern, but we can get drunk on so many things, and that emotion, that love, can get us drunk because we think we love. As young boys, we start becoming very interested in women.
Yeah.
Very, and that's such a strong pull that the devil can use and make you do just bad things. And Brittany knows this has been an issue, so that's why I'm not afraid to say it. Unfortunately, it was not in the best way she found out, and I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but it was a struggle, man. People struggle with certain things in life. Some people struggle with drugs. Some people struggle with alcohol. Some people struggle with lust. There's many other things. And it's just one of those things that I struggle with. I think women are beautiful. I think most of us do. That's how the Lord designed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did.
But He designed it for you to have that desire for one woman.
Right.
And when you start getting locked into that, and there's many other things, I'm not going to stick on this too long, but I do want to say it because if somebody out there is struggling with it, it destroys your mind.
Yeah.
It destroys your expectations. It destroys a bunch of things that they're just false. And then when you actually get into a relationship with a woman that the Lord's blessed you with, you're not going to be satisfied, unfortunately, until you let go of that. And I'm not saying that's me because I've got over that. And I'm as happy as I ever can be, and I have no desire to do that. But it was once a battle for me. So that being watchful, we have to be watchful for what we think is real love, and what we think is what feels right is not always right.
Yeah.
So being watchful for that, being watchful for what was your confident? What was your
Being having godly character.
godly character? Yeah, I mean, we can be the coolest guy on the block. Everybody wants to talk to. And that's a lot of us, I think, desire to be that guy. We want to be liked. Who wants to be hated? but we have to be watchful in the fact that we can be gaining all these followers for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
So that's another way we have to be watchful. We have that devil is roaring. I mean, is prowling around, roaring like a lion, ready to devour us in every possible way. So I think that's super important for everything you talked about. I think it relates to you have to be watchful in how you do those things and how you gain those things, because the devil has no control necessarily over your heart. You know what I mean? I mean, he really, I don't think he has control over your mind necessarily. I don't really know how that works, but he puts
The
things
Bible
in,
says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Right.
So if we're not renewing
Right.
our mind, then yeah.
right. But we're like those fish in the water, and we see this thing just dangling right there.
Yeah.
You know, ooh, that looks so good, and we eat it, and then we get hooked, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It snags us up, and but rarely a fish gets off unless you're as horrible at setting the hook. The
Yeah.
devil is not horrible at setting a hook.
No,
He
that's
can
good.
set a hook
Yeah.
and have you for a long time and drag you ashore, and then you start suffocating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my biggest thing I wanted to go over tonight is just as a man, the first thing you have to do is be watchful of what this world is offering, because all of it is trash. All of it is trash. Everything is temporary. Everything.
And we talked about, examples of macho men in the old school days, and John Wayne, Terminator, all that stuff. Number one man example that we have to watch is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about, the devil comes around like a roaring lion. The devil came to Jesus and tempted him for 40 days, or tempted him after 40 days of not eating or anything. And what did Jesus use to be able to fight Satan off?
Yeah, the word.
The word.
We went back to Scripture.
He went back to Scripture and used the word to fight the devil off. That's why it's so important for us to be committed to God's law, because this is our tool, this is our sword to fight the devil off. And to know what is right, to know what is wrong, to not go after those hooks that's baited with disaster, essentially.
Yep.
To go after the things of God.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, have you heard this one? A fisherman that's fishing, he don't care what he's using. He just wants to be catching fish.
Yeah.
So he might throw out that top water.
Yeah.
Be reeling it, right? Was that Joby Martin one?
Either him or Josh.
Regardless, I
I've
heard
it,
it's
but
great.
It's great.
But if that top water ain't working, guess what? He's going to change the bait. All right, let's go to a little worm. Let's try that one now. He's going to continue. A fisherman's going to fish until he gets that bite and gets that catch. And then what happens when you get that first bite? You just start fishing harder.
Yeah,
Because you know the fish are out there. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what the devil does. And it's scary, man.
And that's good.
But yeah, man, I think I was going to say something else. But you guys go ahead while I'm
But
thinking.
I just want to say, like, it's very easy to not be watchful because there are temptations everywhere. Like we carry one around every single day. Like how easy is it to have good intentions on doing something, but then like for me, like I'll pull out my phone to text someone about something, like trying to be productive. All right, I need to ask them a question, and then 30 minutes later, here I am still scrolling on my phone. You know, like it's very, very easy. There's just temptations everywhere nowadays. And it's by the devil's design.
Yeah.
Like, he wants it that way. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I like that.
It's like
that
in the morning whenever I go to read the scripture or whatever. It's so easy to hit Facebook first.
Yeah.
Or whatever it may be,
right.
and scroll through, and next thing I know, I'm running out of time, and then I don't have time for my Bible for the day.
Yeah,
it's time to get to work. So I have to be intentional every morning to, all right, I'm going to the Bible app and I'm reading what that plan has for me for the day, and that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
I think you have to. This kind of goes into having accountability in your life with other men.
Yeah.
Think about somebody in the military on watch. Is there ever a time where there's not somebody on watch? You know what I mean? Like if you're in battle. Like when I would go on field exercises, thank the Lord I never had to actually sit in a real foxhole and defend my life. But we simulated it. And we went and dug these holes around the whole perimeter of our camp, and somebody for 4 weeks straight was always in that hole. That hole was never left unattended, sitting there with your gun down range looking for the enemy. If that was ever unattended, that was a weak spot right there. But my point is, it took more than one person. We're weak.
Yeah.
We get tired. We get complacent. We get lazy. But you two can hold me. Y'all can help sit in that foxhole for me. And
Matt carriers.
yeah, exactly.
yes.
Matt carriers.
I love
and,
it.
and we can all be watchful together as an army for God, and we can just benefit each other so much. When you start trying to do it by yourself on your own, you're gonna fall asleep in the foxhole.
Yeah.
That might be a sermon. Falling asleep in the foxhole. I like that one.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, no, I love that Matt Carrier's
Yeah.
thing about that Joby does, man. That's so true. Like we need people to help us, you know.
Yeah.
And not just people that tell us what we want to hear. You know, people that are going to be truthful. Like, you know, if we're messing up or doing things we're not supposed to be doing, like, you know, you need people in your corner that will tell you, like, hey, man, that's not right. Like,
Yeah.
you know, give you a kick in the butt. You know. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
You got anything else?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think
I'm looking forward to the next one where we're talking about being a godly husband for sure.
Yeah.
And even honestly, I'm looking the most forward probably to being about being a godly father.
Yeah.
But I think we really went in on some good points of you know what it is to be a man. You know, we talked about being a man in the world's eyes today, and even a few years back. But how does that compare to being a godly man? And I hope somebody could get something out of it. What we talked
Absolutely.
about today.
Yeah, I think we definitely stayed more on course for pre-wife, pre-kids, all that good stuff, entering into manhood. I think there's more that goes into it, honestly.
lot
Yes,
more.
But
yeah.
you know, I think you also have to do yourself a service and get in the Word, and you'll find that too if you are searching for what that is. And if we didn't speak on something, maybe, but I think the Lord will show it to you if you look for it. I mean, you seek and you shall find. You know, ask and you shall receive. And the Lord will do that for you. But if you're not willing to get off the couch, if you're not willing to open this Bible and be committed, you won't ever. So I encourage anybody listening, start digging in and figure out yourself what would be a man, or what is a man. But yeah, I'm excited.
And if you find a point that we didn't discuss, put a comment on there.
Absolutely.
You know, if you
We
put a comment
want
so we can look
feedback.
at
Yeah,
We want-
and I want to say specifically to like younger men, you know, kids or young men out of college or anything, and you're looking to like you're starting to like want to start a family and all that stuff. But like, and if you don't have a relationship with God, like that's where you have to start.
Yes.
That is step number one. Just because if you don't do that first, then you're just getting it all. You're just going to get it messed up. You're not going to do it correctly. So the first step is just to get a relationship with Christ. You know, and if you need help with that, comment. You know, reach out to one of us if you know one of us. We will absolutely help you.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that real quick because don't get them out of order because you will mess up.
Yes,
that's the biggest thing. What we're doing this for is to lead people to the Lord. This is a subtopic of that, but the ultimate goal is leading people to Christ. And if you're sitting there asking like, well, when should I do it or this? If you're asking yourself when you should do it, the answer is right now. And you can do it yourself. You go to John 3:16. You can go to Romans 9:10. Is it 9:10 through 9? I think that's one of the topics. Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah.
Or Google the Romans road in the Bible. Like you can go to the Lord right now. You don't have to have somebody necessarily. Now, I definitely suggest you seek counsel. You seek somebody in the church. You reach out to us, message us, whatever it is.
Yeah, and get involved in a local church.
Get involved and be committed to being involved. My life goes so much better when I'm involved in a church and working for something more than myself. We got a work day this Saturday, right?
Yes.
What time are we gonna be here?
I think you said 9.
Oh, I'm gonna try to be here. But every time I come to a work day, I get fulfilled from that.
Yeah.
I feel good about that.
Right.
I'm not getting paid a dime. I'm just getting blessings from the Lord, and not that that's what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it because He's given me something that I want to take care of, just like He's given you your life. Take care of it. So, but yeah, man, I'm excited. I think we nailed down some really good points. I appreciate both of you guys, man. I've had a great week. I've had a tiring week. Honestly, I've been thinking about this all week. Other than when I got in the truck after today, I wasn't thinking about it, and I saw y'all's text. I was like, oh, tonight's the podcast.
Yeah.
And
Are you saying firefighters actually do something?
man,
I'm just kidding.
but here's the problem. Here's the problem, and I'm gonna be honest with you. The first 6 months of your career, you are worked to the bone like a
Oh, really?
dog, and then you have all these expectations of like going and fighting fires every day, and like you're running like 100 medical calls. But I'm excited for it, man. It's gonna be that's another way I just see the Lord allowing me to touch people and reach people in His name. So it's gonna be really fun. But yeah, oh yeah, dude. Like my traps are wrecked. I probably did 300 push-ups this morning. It felt like
I'm gonna get wrecked online again because you don't support firefighters or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
I absolutely support firefighters.
And
and now you're inspecting firefighters,
Yeah.
not
Oh
fruit.
gosh.
So
Here we go.
and to that point, guys, we all fall short. If you were listening to
Yes.
this, we are not standing on a mountain pointing down at
Absolutely not.
you. Like we are
We
down.
don't
in the
have videos
valley.
of us walking on water.
Yes, yes. Like
We
we
are all sinners saved by grace.
That's
Yes.
right. I felt
That's
daily.
exactly what we are.
We're just hoping to help someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to see who we're gonna bring in. Excited for the conversations that will come. And I thank everybody for joining. Anybody want to? I can close this out, or somebody else wants to.
Go ahead.
All right. Dear Lord, I'm just so thankful to be here, God. Just fellowshipping with my brothers, talking about you, talking about such an important topic that this world needs to hear. Just how to become that man of God. And Lord, I just know if we would just get a grasp on this as a nation, as a world, that what we could do for you would be just so amazing. And Lord, I pray you just be with this podcast, this mission that we're set out on, and just let it be all the glory be to you, God, and nothing for us. That we would just reach, if it's just one person that finds you through this, God, it's worth it. And Lord, I'm going to thank you right now for what you're going to do through this. And you've already done so much just in my heart. And Lord, I just pray you just continue to bless it. I pray you be with our church and our pastor, and just keep leading him to lead us. And we're just going to thank you right now for it. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, everybody, please like, please share. Once again, not for us, for him, but it's so important to get this out there. To please leave us a comment. If and if it's not necessarily a positive one, we're good with constructive criticism.
Yes.
And and we're not gonna get mad at anybody. Feel free to speak your mind. Please don't have any profanity. But let us know if you have questions. If you want to challenge us in any kind of way, I think we would accept that with open arms, because we love to get better and love to learn. But share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. That was well spoken.